reverse engineered Iman Gadzhi's entire $100 million personal brand system in just 3 hours using AI. And I'm not talking about the surface level stuff that you hear about while doom scrolling on social media, but the actual system he uses to absolutely dominate online. You see, while everyone else is trying to copy his lifestyle post or mimic the way he speaks, they're really missing the real game that's happening behind the scenes. And when I fed his entire content strategy ecosystem into AI, I discovered there's a hidden architecture to everything that he does. Here's the problem. Iman's system really isn't applicable to most people who are starting from scratch. Obviously, he has a massive following funding his team and his content to build his personal brand behind the scenes to make this ecosystem so effective. And that just really isn't realistic for the average person. And to copy what he's doing just isn't realistic for 99% of people. So what I've done is I simplified it and I took the core elements of Iman's system and transformed it into something that you can actually implement right away, even if you're starting from scratch. Moreover, I've actually been using the same exact system that I'm going to show you to build my personal brand to making $200,000 to $300,000 per year. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what I discovered by analyzing Iman's content ecosystem, and I'm going to show you how you can adapt it for your own personal brand. Because here's the reality. Iman didn't build a $100 million empire by accident. He followed the playbook, and today I'm going to be showing you exactly what that playbook looks like. All right, so diving right into it, the first thing we got to go into is the reverse engineering discovery. As someone who's been doing YouTube for years now, whenever there's someone interesting, whether it's Iman or any other creator, I'm always going to research what they're doing, what kind of content they're making, what are they selling, because there's always something to be learned. So what actually caught my attention especially when Iman was popping off in the beginning, was a couple things. Number one, I really think he was a big part in making education cool. So for info products and selling online courses, prior to Iman, it wasn't that cool to sell online education because I was in the space for a while and the world was really internet marketing, right? Very scammy kind of feeling. So he added his own aesthetic and he definitely made it different. So I definitely respect that. Number two, he has really strong PR skills. So I kind of noticed in his content that he can make people believe essentially anything he wants, right? And the way the world works is perception is reality, right? So I think his ability to persuade the masses is very powerful. And of course, if you can persuade the masses, you can get them to buy stuff, right? And number three, I think he's really good at emotional storytelling. So for his target audience, which we'll dive into later in this video, he's really good at making people feel emotions, pain, anger, making them feel motivated, and essentially get them to watch and eventually buy. So by taking these kind of elements together, right, it's like making things cool, getting people to buy emotionally, having strong PR so that even if people say negative things about him, he's able to really control the narrative. Very similar to Drake, if you think about it, because Drake, a lot of people attack him. They say negative things about him. They say, oh, he's corny, he's this and that, but he's always on top. He's still winning. He's still selling out records. He's still doing these big shows and he's always able to control the narrative. So I see some similarities in that. And that's something that we can all learn from. And so when I saw these kind of elements, I really dove deep to really analyze, Iman's content from what he's saying in the videos, the packaging of the title, the thumbnails, the products that he's selling, because if it's working, clearly, don't be a hater, right? Just learn from it, take what you can, pieces of it, don't try to copy and just remix it for yourself, right? So that's essentially what I'm going to do in this video. So instead of blindly copying his thumbnails and titles, you're never going to be him, but you can take certain pieces and DNA of it and apply it to yourself. And honestly, that's probably what he's done. And there's probably people that he looked up to when he was starting out, and he probably took bits and pieces there and, created the personal brand that you see today. Now let's go into the 3-hour deep dive process, right? And so the backstory behind this is I have a method to basically go into any personal brand, whether it's Iman or Alex Hormozi or literally anybody. And basically my goal is to figure out what's working for them and what can I essentially steal or copy, right? Take inspiration from. And the fastest way to really do it is use AI. If you're not using AI in this entire process, you're definitely like, what would take you one day will probably take you a month. So I'm going to show you the exact process that I personally use to analyze all personal brands and show you how you can do it as well. And the process I'm going to show you, I actually documented this into the Personal Brand Accelerator Workbook, which is actually part of my Founder X program, right? And so I'm going to be using this workbook throughout the entire video. And if you want to follow along and use this workbook for yourself so that you can use it to develop your own personal brand, I put a link in the description where you can download it absolutely for free. All right, so let's dive into it. So the first step that I took to analyze Iman's brand was essentially phase one, which is analyzing basically his profile using AI. Now, the fastest way to do this is two things. Number one, you first want to screenshot a person's thumbnail and title. Now, if you go on Iman's YouTube channel, right, if you click on any of these videos, there's always going to be a, watch this next video kind of video, right? So if all his traffic is directing to this video, you know that basically this video is converting and he's basically selling something to his audience. For every dollar that they make, they can attribute it to which video got them that dollar. And so if they're driving all the traffic to this particular video, which is the laziest way to make money online, this one's probably making them a lot of money, which is why that's where I started, right? So all you got to do is basically you screenshot the thumbnail and title, and then you take the transcript, right? For transcript, you got to go with transcript, and then it pops up here, and then you basically copy and paste this entire thing, right? And you want to have the timestamps in there so that when you run it through AI, it knows the pacing of how long the video is and how long it took to say each line, right? So that definitely helps AI get an accurate read of how this whole video goes. So I've already done this ahead of time where I have the screenshot, right? Essentially, it's just the title and thumbnail, and then I have the transcript. So what I would do is I would copy that and I'll go in ChatGPT, and then I would put it in here, right? So we have the transcript and a thumbnail. From there, you want to use this prompt right here, right? And I'm not going to go through the whole thing. You can definitely just download it and use it for yourself, but you can essentially just copy the whole thing and then drop it in ChatGPT. Now, before I do, I'll just kind of go over it real quick, actually. So the whole point of this is to tell ChatGPT, like, hey, you're a top percent, YouTube strategist. Let's analyze everything about the video. From what kind of video is it? Is it top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel? I'll explain that later in this video. Who's his ideal customer? What products is he selling? How, what does the packaging look like? Let's break it down. Why is it visually stunning? And then like looking at the transcript itself, what makes a video good, and then analyzing the emotional angles, right? So what emotions are being invoked? Why are people so interested in this content? Because you don't want to be like a how-to creator where nobody cares about you. You want to evoke emotion to get people to buy emotionally, because every sale, whether it's B2B or B2C, it's emotion. You either want to run away from pain or you want to get closer to pleasure, and it's usually the combination of the two. Now, once you get the prompt, you go in ChatGPT, you copy paste it, and bang. It's thinking a little bit, taking longer for a better answer, so you just chill a little bit and wait. Okay, so starting off using the criteria that I talked about, this video is gonna be in the mid top of funnel, right? So, what you need to understand about that is the videos that are gonna get the most views are the ones that are more general. So this is essentially how to make money online. He's not telling you, in the thumbnail itself, right? If you look at it, if you want more views, the laziest way to make money online in 2025. So he doesn't tell you how you're going to make money online. He's just telling you, if you are interested in making money online, watch this video. Then in the video itself, he's going to say, oh, like you can do Shopify, but it sucks. You can do Amazon FBA, but it sucks. But here's why selling digital products is the best. And I just happen to sell a product around helping you start a digital product business, right? And so that's essentially how this particular video works. And it almost works like a video sales letter, meaning video sales letter is really just a sales pitch disguised as a YouTube video. So when someone watches it, they feel like they got a lot of value. They didn't particularly learn anything besides of being aware that this opportunity exists, but for them to actually do the thing, they have to take the next step, which is probably to buy. And that's, one of the things I uncovered. It's like these YouTube videos, they teach without really teaching, and the only way to get the result that is kind of promised or is hinted at is for you to buy the product, right? And this is a common thing, not just, Iman does it, but then there are other people like Alex Hormozi does it, Russell Brunson from ClickFunnels does it. So many people do it. It's not like he's, inventing anything new, but it's just applied to a different market that was kind of untapped, a couple years ago, right? Which is like the more ambitious, younger entrepreneur people. Okay, getting into it. So ideal avatar is 18 to 34. That's a guess. I would actually guess it would skew a little bit younger, personally, if you kind of think about like who the content is for. But that's just my personal opinion. I think people who are at 30 plus would probably look for another type of person that's more relatable. Mainly because the way I think Iman does the marketing is very flashy, you know, it's like watches, cars and stuff. So who's going to be most impressed? Probably younger people, right? And then if you look at some of the like commercials or like advertisements he's done in the past, it'll be like him trying to look like Batman, like Bruce Wayne, right? Or him, you know, pretending to work at a pizza place or McDonald's, and then he became successful. But the only people that are going to resonate with that are people who don't have the best jobs, right? But then if you're like a high income earner, and let's say you're making 6 figures, you probably aren't going to watch Iman's content on his main channel because you just don't connect with it as much as, you know, the guy that works at Costco, right? But yeah, so I would say this is probably younger, but that people have that entrepreneur drive for sure. So psychographics. I mean, main thing here is it's a vehicle, right? It's like people, they're lost, they don't know what to do. They're looking for the right vehicle of what business to start. And you'd be surprised, a lot of people, they want to start a business, but they need to be told what kind of business they should start, right? And so that's why this content comes into play, because it's like, hey, if you're lost, but you know you have it and you can make money, here's how digital products is going to be the best thing for you, even though you don't know what a digital product is, right? That's the pitch. But yeah, I mean, most people who are buying these programs, yeah, I can see that. Like they want to make like 3 to 10K, and most people are starting out, so they're at 0, right? And I think most people just want that freedom to be able to work online 100% and not have to have like a shitty job. Now, when we're talking about the packaging, right? So when you look at the packaging, it's good in that it feels like a master guide on, you know, how to make money. But the thing is, if you try to copy this, it probably isn't going to work. So even if you copy the fonts, the way the color glows, even if you copy the same clothes he's wearing and the same title, it probably won't work, right? Because the way he's doing content, he has so many accounts busting shorts every day, probably like thousands and thousands, maybe 1 million shorts a year. And because he gets so much views and his brand's so big, it's going to funnel all the traffic to these long form videos. So just because you copy all the packaging doesn't mean it's going to work. And also, you know, you're not him, you don't have the same credibility, right? So it probably won't work. But you can take elements of this, the clarity, simplicity, or, you know, how he makes his vehicle sound better than every other vehicle. You can learn from that for sure. Okay, so obviously there's going to be more factors to Iman's content. We don't have to like break everything down here. You could definitely use the prompt I showed you and do it for yourself. But I kind of just want to move on to the more emotional angles, right? Which I thought was probably one of the most valuable lessons for me. I think the first one is the framing of like, you're not lazy, you're optimizing. So the way he's hooking people in. So again, with the packaging, right? So the packaging is so important because it's what gets the click. The way he's hooking people in, he's saying like, hey, this is the laziest way to make money. But in the video itself, he says, no, it's not actually the laziest, it's the most optimized. It's the one that has the highest chance of success and the least amount of capital you have to invest outside of my course that you can buy, right? And there's nothing wrong with selling courses. I buy courses all the time. But that's essentially how the process works. So then when they click in, he kind of switches it and says like, hey, I'm not like everybody else. I'm not trying to, you know, get rich quick, but I'm going to show you the best way to make money online, right? So it's trying to be the good guy in the space where everyone is trying to just like say, hey, like make money fast, Lamborghini, right? The main thing he does in the videos, and it's not just this video, but he'll come out with a lot of these like VSL type videos like all the time, right? Like every other video is basically a VSL. And actually most of his content is like VSL heavy, where you don't really see him teaching something, right? Like he's not gonna go into ChatGPT and put in a prompt like I'm showing you now. He's not gonna go into Facebook ads and like show you how to run an ad, right? What he does really well is he sells the vehicle, right? Which is whatever product he's selling at the time. So if he's selling you on, in the beginning, it was like social media marketing agency, this is why this is the business to start. He's going to make this opportunity sound super good. Now it's more about, here's how you can sell digital products online, you know, whatever it is, right? And so he's going to make that sound really good. But the whole video is basically targeted towards beginners who don't know anything about internet marketing. And he is the gateway bringing you into the space. And he just happens to have the best way to make money online. And so if you're new and you're not sure what to do and you like his brand and you want to live the same life he does, and you're just tired of whatever, you know, problems you're facing in your life or the job that you hate, it seems like a very good gateway into buying the next thing, right? Click on the link in the description for these videos. It's going to take you to the Make Money Online Challenge, right? Launch your first digital project with AI. So it's basically a narrative of, hey, like it's easy to make money. Digital products is the best way. With AI, it's even simpler. AI does all the work, right? And in reality, AI doesn't really do all the work, but hey, it's a nice narrative and it does help. So you sign up for the free ticket, which is essentially like a 3-day, you know, like sales process, right? And then if you like what he has at the end, you buy. So you're going to learn like day 1, day 2, day 3, right? Again, it's selling the opportunity. Here's the opportunity of the new market or whatever, right? How beginners are, taking advantage of AI, making money. All right. So once you're sold on the opportunity, you're like, okay, but like what product do I sell? Here's how to find and create the winning products. Okay, next step solved. And then what's the next step? Accessing untapped source of buyers. Okay, so like you created a product, let's go find some buyers, let's get some leads, right? And so it's basically selling the opportunity, like what you're going to learn. On these videos, like, is he really gonna teach you how to do these things? No, because at the end of this, you're gonna be like, I'm sold on the opportunity. I wanna create digital products. I understand how to find buyers, but I need the next step. Day number 4 or whatever it is, right? It's gonna be buying the product. And yeah, I mean, it's a pretty common method to sell business opportunities. That's what we call it in the biz, where you're selling the opportunity, right? So you do less teaching, more selling the dream so that they want to actually buy the program so they can start doing the work. And I think what's really interesting is like, there's a little bit of the FOMO, right? Of like saying, hey, this is new opportunity that's not going to last forever. You got to get on it now. So you want to jump in, right? And then the way he does this is they go by launches. So, all the YouTube videos basically build up this demand to, I think every 3 months or something, he does one of these big launches. And then the whole point of the YouTube video is to build up demand and then, do some kind of training like this where you're selling the dream again. And then it kind of liquidates everybody or like, monetizes them and then just like makes as much money as possible from the content that he's creating. And then he makes content again for a couple months and he does it again. He just does it like 4 times a year. And that's how this process works. It's kind of genius actually. Watches like Patek Philippe, Rolexes, so on and so forth. And then the mastermind, right? It's kind of interesting in that like, you don't know how many Rolexes he's going to give away or Cartiers or Patek Philippe's, but you just know it's 350K in prizes. But like, this is where like narrative is really interesting to me, because what if, he was giving away a bunch of like masterminds, and if he gave away 4 of those, that's 100K, right? Or what if he gave 8 of these away? Then that's like, 200K. So it's like, you don't have to say how many of these watches you're going to give. Are you going to give 4 Rolexes? Are you going to give less? Which models, right? So it's like, that's how you can kind of control the narrative to make people believe like the craziest thing possible, So we kind of covered, dissecting like one piece of content, but basically for you guys, if you were to use this process, you would take, a bunch of different creators' videos and you would run that same exact process to understand exactly why that video works, but also understanding, what they're selling as well, right? Because these two go hand in hand. The whole point of creating content is to get attention to sell your thing. If you don't have something to sell, then it's kind of a waste of time to create the content. So the next thing is really just screenshotting a creator's previous videos. So like the last few months to kind of see like how many top, middle, and bottom funnel of content they're creating. So I've done this already over here. So I have these 3 and then copy and paste, bang, right? Now from there, you want to use this prompt that I gave you. And essentially we're going to extract the data to figure out what ratio does he use for top, middle, and funnel of content, right? Top of funnel meaning things that are more mainstream to bring people in. Middle funnel is like things that it's more like how-to content that nurtures people, builds authority, show like what you're talking about. And bottom of the funnel is really the goal is to convert. Like, bottom of the funnel is more like things like a client testimonial interview or something. So basically take that, copy and paste it here. So as you can see, with each video, you can see the date of when it was posted or like how many days ago, the funnel stage, and then kind of like the reason for the classification to kind of explain that. Don't think it's going to be 100% accurate all the time. You have to like have your own judgment as well. In the end, I just have it give me a summary of like what's top of funnel, middle funnel, and bottom funnel, right? And so to give you context, all I'm doing is just copy and pasting the YouTube titles and thumbnails on the actual. So if you just go here, you just basically copy and paste or screenshot that, and then you would put it into your ChatGPT, right? So we can see here, majority of his content is going to be top of funnel. So he just wants to attract people and bring people in. Probably a lot of content on how to make money online in general. And then the middle and bottom of the funnel is like being more specific, probably on like personal branding or why you should sell digital products, right? But the whole goal for him is really awareness, building the biggest brand as possible, because at this stage, he's like becoming like almost like a mainstream celebrity, not just like a niche, make money creator. And so it's a different game. And for most people, this is very hard to do actually, because you're probably just not that interesting, compared to Iman and, other people who do this kind of stuff. And so that's why if you're like a consultant or a coach and you have like a very specific avatar, to make your initial like 10K a month, it's probably easier to go niche versus trying to go like this crazy mainstream, like what he's doing. All right, so the next piece we're going to talk about is going to be some of the secrets that AI has revealed to me. So after doing this process for multiple of his videos, I've taken some of the best lessons I've learned from his content and I simplified it in a way where you can actually use it. Because like I've been saying, what Iman is doing is not realistic for 99% of people. It's too difficult, right? It takes like a whole content team, costs a lot of money, and it takes a lot of skill. But let's take the DNA and apply it to you guys, even if you're starting from zero, so that you can, have an advantage, off the bat. Some of the hidden strategies we're going to talk about are a couple things. Number one, your come up story is going to be the anchor. The come up story, basically your rags to riches story of where you came from and how you became successful. That's a really big piece of Iman's strategy because he's always talking about how he quit high school, started a social media marketing agency, how he has so many ups and downs, and then he became successful. So that's a story a lot of younger people can relate to. He focused heavily, like I've been saying, on selling the opportunity versus teaching. He doesn't do much how-to content. He does a lot of storytelling and here's a big opportunity that you should take advantage of, right? Like something to really think about. Next is he's targeting mainstream audiences who are lost on which business model to choose, right? This is where you're going like real mainstream, because like these guys don't know if they should start a personal brand, should they sell digital products, should they do Amazon, like they're lost, right? And so he's that gateway for them to come into the internet world. And the last piece is really weaponizing emotional FOMO. So it's always like this opportunity won't last forever. The world is changing. You got to be a man and make your own money online so you can live anywhere you want in the world, like that kind of stuff, right? And also like those raffles that I showed you earlier with the watches, the Pateks, like clearly that appeals to a certain type of person, right? If you're like in your 30s, you're making like multiple six figures and you're seeing that, you probably won't be attracted to what he's selling. But if you're younger, maybe making like $1,000 a month, it can be very appealing. I can understand that. An important part to understand is like when you're creating content, you have to know if you're creating for B2B or B2C. Now, B2C stands for business to consumer, and in B2C, it's kind of like people want to be like you. You're selling a lifestyle. The reason why they buy your coaching or your courses is because they see what you're doing and they want to do the same thing. Now, B2B is a little bit different because people don't necessarily want to be like you. They want to work with you, right? So you're basically creating like how-to content, like value. So if you're like, like a Facebook marketing agency, like nobody wants to be you, right? But a company might look at what you're doing and say, I want to hire this guy to work for me so that he can run my ads and I can make more money. So the sale and how you do the content is going to be very different. So if you're appealing to more consumers, you're selling more courses and coaching, more lifestyle is important. Storytelling is more important. But if you're going more B2B, storytelling is important, but not as important as like, can you actually deliver on the results? Now, so when you're applying it to yourself, you have to think based on your avatar and who you're targeting and based on how you want to be perceived online on the value to dream spectrum. Okay, so this is a concept I kind of made up, using what I learned from Iman. You have how-to content on the left side, you have dreams on the right side. So where do you lean? Are you somebody that talks more about dreams, what you can do, why you should escape your 9 to 5? You're definitely selling more of the dream, right? More B2C. Or are you more how-to content and you're straight like, hey, like I'm a consultant, I help businesses like 10x their revenue, right? Nobody cares about the dream. Maybe, yeah, you flex a little bit to show that you are successful, but you knowing what you're talking about and being an authority is much more important. And so you have to, everyone like kind of falls somewhere in the spectrum. And for some videos, you might go heavy how-to. For other videos, you might go heavy on the dreams. It really just depends on what you want to do and what's currently hot in the market. Because like on YouTube, if everyone is selling the dream, you can stand out by actually just giving practical value, right? So if you look at Alex Hormozi, he probably looked at the market and he said like all these other internet marketers are just selling the dream. I'm going to go so hardcore value that my videos are literally online courses, right? So you have to have a pulse on the market and who you're competing against to know which, where you should land. And you could always change it, week after week, right? Like this is something that changes all the time. Now, another important step that I kind of learned from watching Iman's content is there's like a ladder of how he's been able to hit mainstream appeal. So in the beginning, he started with teaching people how to run a social media marketing agency, essentially a make money online kind of creator, right? But then over time, as you go more mainstream, he started talking about like locking in, monk mode, how to be more productive, right? So that's more like self-development, so which is more broadly appealing. And at this point, you know, he's more entertainment, where it's just him hanging out with his friends, documenting his life, you know, like running businesses, kind of like Mark Cuban, right? And he has a whole other channel called Iman Gadzhi Unscripted, where he's essentially just vlogging, right? Showing his life. And this actually, I mean, it's a content ecosystem, right? People watch the vlogs, they love the vlogs, and then they're like, oh, lifestyle's so cool, it's so real, let's watch his other stuff. Oh, let's get sold, let's join the program, let's try to be like him, right? So they all kind of work together. And so obviously the more mainstream you get, the more like the different strategies and content you would use, right? Now, could you make a lot of money if you just stayed here and you only did, you know, make money online videos? Yeah, absolutely, right? You definitely can. Like I would say Alex Hormozi, I mean, I would say he's doing that at the highest level, you know what I mean? I mean, yeah, Alex Hormozi also does like philosophy, self-development, so actually he would fall into number 2, where more people can watch his stuff. But yeah, you just gotta understand where you fall. But most people, if you just do number 1, like you can make a living off of that. Like you don't have to be an entertainer for you to make money online. Now here's one of the best lessons I kind of picked up. I noticed it for a lot of people too, not just Iman, but Alex Hormozi, all the other guys that you see. And it's really, the more successful you become, the more successful you become. That's just how the game works. So let me explain what I mean. How this works is you want to find success at doing something, right? So like Iman, he says he was successful in social media marketing agency, running that, making people money. So then naturally he's going to teach people with courses how to also start a social media marketing agency. Now, in the process of doing that, you have to learn a lot of new skills like landing pages, selling digital products, running ads for those digital products, fulfillment, a lot of stuff, right? And so when you learn those new skills, what you can do is you can teach them to create new products, right? So if you're a social media marketing agency, then you teach other people how to do what you did. Then you got good at teaching other people. So then naturally other people outside of social media marketing want to know how you sold all these courses. And then you create a course on how to sell a course, right? And so, you know, the new, basically teaching skills you learn from teaching people whatever that thing was. And then from there, you make content about the success you had teaching other people your new skill, whatever it is. And so more people want to buy your stuff because of how successful you are. And then the more successful you are and the more content you put out about your client's success, like you basically just teach more people what you just did. So it's just like this loop that just keeps going up, right? And you're always upskilling. So, but you know, if you think about Alex Hormozi, he does the same thing. He was a gym owner, then he helped gyms become successful and get clients. Then he went to all these gyms and helped them become successful. Then he created like a licensing program so that people can buy essentially like a membership or a course to make more money as a gym. And then he went more broad and he stopped talking about gyms and he talked about business in general. Then he moved into all these other businesses and now he talks more about how he grows other businesses, right? So the cycle keeps growing. Then he talks about like how he buys different businesses and gets equity, and then more people want to, you know, watch his stuff, right? So it's just like this. The more successful you get, the more opportunities you have, the more skills you develop, the more things you can sell, because the skills that you just learned, you can sell it into the market. All right, so I'm gonna give a bonus tip for you guys, and that is be cool without trying. So one of the things I've learned from the style of how Iman does his content, if you notice, and you've watched some of his interviews, he's always saying like, hey, like I don't pose for photos. One of my friends just like takes a picture of me when I'm on the phone or doing something, right? That's true and not true, right? Because there is a creative director of the brand. If you hired a full-time creative director for your brand and you're making a bunch of money from it, it's pretty clear that there's someone's full-time job is to make you look cool. So it's not as natural as you might think. It's not like he's just doing something, somebody just pulls out their iPhone and takes a photo. I think what they do collectively as a team is they really think about what is a photo that's gonna look really good, that looks really natural, that makes it look like I'm not trying, even though there's an entire team trying really hard to make it look like I'm not trying. So from an aesthetic perspective, I think that's how he makes it really cool, right? So it's like using film photography, making it look like the grain on the photos, the colors, the aesthetics, how, you know, how they present everything, the music, like all this stuff is really well thought out, 100%, but the team is really good at making it look effortless. So if you were to apply for your brand, you know, if you're like trying too hard and like smiling and stuff, right? It looks very cheesy. But if you had the mindset of like, how do I make this cool without making it look like I'm trying that hard? suddenly your pictures and everything become more attractive because it just seems like you embody that. You just have that aura, right? All right, so now we're gonna get into the adoption strategy. And that is, now that we have all the concepts and we kind of broke down Iman's content strategy, how do we actually implement it and execute it so that you can start using this today? So the first thing you have to understand is like, why copying won't work. You can't just take someone's personal brand and run it through AI and just like copy everything. And the reason is because you don't have the same resources to output the same volume. So for Iman, like, dude, they're trying so many different things, different angles. They have whole teams of editors. You just don't have enough at bats. So if you're only making like one YouTube video a week or one short a day, like you have to take a very strategic approach because you don't have as much time and resources as they do. Number two, you're not going to win by going broad. So whatever content Iman's making, like the very broad general content, how to make money online, it probably won't work for you because if you make a video like that and you have 0 subscribers, most likely people won't watch because you don't have the credibility yet. And the last piece is you don't have the skills and authority to get people to believe you. Not yet anyways, right? So you have to take a very different approach in order to win. And I'm going to show you how to take that different approach using the lessons we learned from Iman, dissecting it, making it simple for you guys to use. So the first one's going to be the rags to riches story. Everybody needs a story, even if you're B2B, B2C, because it's like that thing people remember, right? So for me, for example, when I get on the phone with people, they always know that I had a 6-figure tech sales job, left it all, traveled the world, and now I'm building a business in Vietnam, right? So majority of people that watch my stuff, they know this because it's a story that is real, but I made sure it was on the front stage of like all the content I make because it's a story that sells. So how do we do this? We look at, number one, the left side is going to be like some kind of painful past life. You need to, like, the more dramatic you can make this, the more memorable it is. So for Iman, I was a high school student, barely making any money. My mom was having trouble paying the bills. I knew I had to just figure it out, right? And so that's like that painful past life. Then on the other side, it's going to be, you contrast that with like the pleasurable current life. So that's why he's always flexing like cars, watches, lifestyle, living in Dubai, whatever it is. It's because when you put those two side by side, you feel like, wow, that's like an incredible journey. I can't believe you did that. And it is very impressive. Now, what makes it even more interesting is in the middle, you're going to have, all these challenges. Okay. So I put a bunch of sharks there because I want it to represent like why you cannot get there by yourself. Everybody has challenges that they need to overcome and they have to go through a lot of difficulty. Sometimes they need mentorship. Sometimes they just have to grind it out, but there's always something that stops you from getting the thing. So on the left side, if you think about it, painful past life, and we put a fire under their ass, right? So if they do nothing, they burn and die. You have to make it feel like in your story, if you had done nothing and everything's cool, it's not interesting. But if you said, like, I was down to my last $200 and next I didn't have money for rent the next month, then it's interesting. Or I didn't have money for food, right? Or I broke my leg and everything's going like downhill. It's more interesting. Now, on the other side, if you show more and you flex more, especially for B2C, not saying you have to flex, but it's just an example because, this video is about Iman, right? Like you show the money, you show the girls, you show the cars or whatever, right? And you put those two side by side and you get the B-roll when you were like 17 years old trying to be like, a business person but failing. You put it side by side. It's a really nice story. And then, in between, like you just put all the obstacles of like all the pain and suffering that you had to go through to become the man that you are. Which is why a lot of times Iman will use B-roll of him. One time he had a mental breakdown. He, posted, and then he'll use like B-roll of him sending a WhatsApp message to his friend, like going crazy, breaking down. And it's like, you have to wonder, why is someone putting out videos of them breaking down? It's because they need to have challenges. Otherwise, they're not going to be relatable. If it's not relatable, they're not going to buy your stuff, right? So it's very strategic. Now, it's all real, from my understanding, but when you're telling a story and your goal is to make money, you have to put these pieces in the right place in order to create the most compelling rags to riches stories that people can remember and feel. So now that we got the rags to riches down, next concept I'm going to give you is the belief triangle. So when you are selling the dream, there are 3 essential steps you need someone to, or 3 essential things that you need someone to believe in order for them to believe in that dream and buy. And this is also true if you're selling B2B and you're selling more value versus dreams. This both applies, right? So 3 beliefs you need people to believe is they need to believe in you, that you are who you say you are, and you can do the thing. Number two, they need to believe in your vehicle, right? So for Iman, it's like you need to get on digital products, right? You got to be selling this stuff. Okay, cool. Number three, that they could do it too. So this is why the rags to riches story is very important, because when it comes to belief, if they look at Iman and they say, oh, like he's so successful, but he can do it, I can't do it, then they're not going to buy his product because they don't think they can do it, right? Maybe the product works, but they'll feel like, but it won't work for me. So that's why these dramatic stories, especially when you're coming from nothing and you went through all these challenges, are so important, because it builds that connection with people. And it's like they just trust you more, they believe in you more, and they feel like you're just like them. So when you're making any type of content and you just have these in your head, am I saying things that make people believe in me, that I'm an authority in the space? Am I selling my vehicle, my unique method, in a way where people actually understand and they get it? And do I make people feel like they can do it too? Not that I'm a genius, that I can do it, and but like I'm just like really trying to make yourself like I'm a regular person. I was just like you, right? And so if you do that, more people will watch you, they'll resonate with you, and they'll keep following you. One key thing is really to hyper focus on your niche that you can win in. For Iman, it was social media marketing agency from the beginning, and then he branched out, right? So when it comes to niches, there are basically three niches that are the most money making for courses, consulting, coaching. And that is wealth, health, relationships. So that's basically making people money, improving their health, and improving their relationships, right? So let's say you're in wealth. Now, wealth has a lot of different niches. So you can do e-com, you can do like an AI marketing agency, you can do personal brand. So let's say for this example, it's personal brand, right? So in personal brand, you want to niche even further if you want to win. You're not going to win being general. There's too many people out there who are better than you. So you can be like, okay, pick a platform. Are you going to be the personal brand guy or girl for Instagram, LinkedIn, or YouTube? And let's say it's YouTube. Are you going to do it for fitness people, education people, entertainment people? Because they all require different skills, even though it's already niche, right? So it's like a niche in a niche in a niche in a niche. That's how granular you have to get if you want to stand out. Then over time, once you dominate your little niche, then you move up, and then you move up again and again, if you choose to do so. So those are some of the most important lessons that I've taken away, and I'm actually applying every day into my content. And hopefully I made it easy enough for you to understand and apply as well. Now I want to go real quick into the worksheet, which you can download. Link is in the description. So we have the rags to riches story, where you can craft out your story, how to build a belief triangle, and also hyper focusing on a niche, right? Now, another step is actually adding your sauce. So when you add your personality into the content, so for Iman, it's like he's into like boxing, live in Dubai, watches, nice things, cars, right? That's like his personal style. And you're not going to win by trying to copy that, because you need a lot of money to do that. But you can do things that are just normal to you. Like for me, for example, I'm living in Vietnam, running a business online, training in Muay Thai. So those are things that are already kind of interesting and don't cost a lot of money. It's just how I live my life. And that is what's going to make you unique. Because this day and age, like if everyone has the same content and you can learn anything from ChatGPT, why would they learn from you? It's because people buy the coach, not the coaching. So they just connect with the person, and that sauce is what's going to make you different. Okay, so now we're going to actually implement it. So if you follow this along, fill out all the sections in the worksheets, how do you actually like get this going in a week? How do you actually get this going week by week, right? So if you were to do this, week number 1, what I would recommend is just have a personal brand vision board. So you want to find 7 creators, whether it's Iman or other people that you take inspiration from, and then you figure out like what's your content strategy, who is their audience, what are they selling, how do they get them emotionally, all the stuff that we've been talking about so far in this video, right? So you have all the tools. So week number 1, just get that vision down. And also based on that vision, remix all the ideas, apply your own sauce, and then what do you want your personal brand to look like? Who is your ideal customer? Who do you want to help? Like how are you going to be different, right? And so in week 1, you should be getting that done. Now, week number 2, this is when you start ideating and scripting. So you come up with 10 video ideas based on your inspirations, right? The 7 people or so that you collected. And then really, I just recommend taking their best videos, their outliers, and just remixing them, right? So whichever videos way outperform their other videos, take those, remix it. So from there, you want to pick the top idea out of those 10, and that's the first video you're going to make, okay? Because idea is that important. You need so many ideas and you pick the best one. Then from there, you write the video, write the script, and then you film the video, okay? Now week number 3. So once you film the video, you got to edit it, and you just edit it with the best of your ability. Doesn't matter if it's CapCut, Final Cut Pro, whatever. Doesn't matter, right? Just use the most basic thing you have. You just want to get out there. It's going to be not that great in the beginning, but you just have to build momentum, right? Video after video after video. Polish the video when it's ready, and just keep track of the analytics. See how many people are viewing, how many people are clicking, and all that stuff. And week number 4, once you get some results, you basically want to look at things like, what's your click-through rate, what's your watch time, like, do people like this video? And then based on the results you got from that video, you ideate and you repeat the process, come up with ideas, and you do it again and again and again till infinity and beyond. And that's really all it is to build a personal brand, right? Like, this is basically what you are signing up for, right? Making videos, analyzing content, and just getting better and better. Now, even with all this said, there's actually an execution gap I notice a lot of people have, especially if they're just getting started. And what I mean by that is, even if you have the blueprint, which I basically give you the whole thing in this video, including the ChatGPT prompts and literally everything, it doesn't mean you're guaranteed success, right? No matter what, at the end of the day, you're gonna have to put in the work and just have sheer volume. That means putting out videos every single week, sometimes more. If it's posting content and text, then doing that, but it's just volume, volume, volume. You cannot escape it. You have to do it. That's part of the job. And so any kind of system that you see online that people are saying like, oh, I'll automate this and that, doesn't matter. If you don't have the work ethic to put in the volume and have the confidence to understand that if you just keep going, you will make it, but maybe it will take longer than you think. If you don't have that mindset in mind, this will not work at all. All right. And most people, 99% of people, in my opinion, after being a creator for like 5+ years now, don't get far because they just give up because they don't put out enough volume. But not only that, but it's also having the right guidance and mentorship to know you're even going in the right direction in the first place, so that if you're going to commit, let's say 3 months of your life on creating content, at least you're going the right way. Now, here's what I want you to understand. Although this system works and has helped me create a life-changing personal brand, there are still so many different nuances to actually building it into a successful business, which is why I created the program Founder X. Now, before you click away thinking, oh, this guy's just trying to sell me something, stick with me because I actually have a free training program that you might be interested in. You see, Founder X is all about taking proven systems like the one I showed you today and applying it into your authentic brand with the help of experts who have walked the path. This means helping you avoid 99% of the mistakes that most people make, and of course, spot all the nuances required to build a real successful business. Now, through the program Founder X, I'm going to work with you personally and directly to help you identify your unique skill set, discover your personal brand and your voice, and couple it with a proven system to craft a strong personal brand, which is the foundation of any business if you want to succeed. Take Yvonne, for example, who went from just being a 9-to-5 tech sales rep to quitting and going full-time into her coaching business, helping other people break into tech sales and get high-paying tech sales jobs. And now she's making $7,000 a month while being able to travel the world doing what she loves. Or Brandon, who went from a VP in the construction industry to starting his own content marketing agency and getting it to $10,000 per month within the first month of working with me while working his full-time job. Now, Founder X isn't for everybody. It's for people who are ready to put in the work for the long term. So if that sounds like you, I've actually put together a free training program where you can learn all the fundamentals. I put a link in the description. And again, it's completely free, no strings attached. So you're going to learn exactly my methodology on how you can build your personal brand and monetize your skills. And if this video helped you out on your journey to building a successful brand, then make sure to subscribe because I'm going to be dropping more content like this every single week. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.